Hello everyone, good afternoon, Mr. Suraj here, and today with me one of my colleague from the machine learning, deep learning background. He is here. Hello, hi Newton, how are you?
Hi, doing great, Suraj. How are you?
Hey, I'm also doing good. So, can you just give the brief idea about what is your educational background, and then we can go ahead from there.
Sure then. So, all in all, my education background is you with computer science and machine learning. So, I've
Mhm.
done my bachelor's in engineering in a university, and that one is with computer science and backend, where my
Mhm.
project was on object tracking and machine learning. So, there was a hint of computer vision there as well. And
Mhm.
as for
Okay.
masters, I've done my MS and my PhD in a reputable institute in here, in which
Mhm.
in that one, the backend is on deep learning, virtual reality, and computer vision. So those are the kinds of education that I want.
Okay, okay. And currently you are working in the industry also, right?
Yes, so currently I'm working in a telecoms industry where the projects would be associated with data science, natural language processing, and nowadays even Gen AI projects are there.
Okay, okay, that is good. So now you are very much experienced in this field, and you are the right person to guide the students. So now the students who are aspiring their careers in your domain, so what do you think? What are the key subjects students should learn related to the deep learning, machine learning, and data science? So if you can tell that subject names, it will be very helpful.
Sure then. So based on experience, I'm having 7 years research experience as well as 3 years industrial experience. So based on that,
Mhm.
I could tell that some of the key things that's needed when you are starting out, at least in computer science and deep learning for that aspect, is you need a
Mhm.
lot of fundamentals on linear algebra. So that
Okay.
will be very much key in any kind of machine learning topic. And
Mhm.
since we're going for machine learning, we also need to learn about statistics,
Mhm.
probability, and a lot
Okay.
of good programming knowledge. Because even though
Mhm.
if you are going to learn all the theory base, but then you're not able to make applications for it, then that'll be a problem. So some sort of programming base, usually people will talk about Python. That is what many companies are going for. But even if you
Okay.
want to go for other programming languages, you could go for C++, Java,
Mhm.
but Python is kind of a main at this point.
Okay, okay, okay. Understood. Thank you for the subjects. So now going ahead to in more depth of these subjects, you have mentioned some subjects like linear algebra, statistics, and then machine learning, deep learning. So can you please tell what are the key topics in these subjects one by one, so that it can make more sense, basically.
Sure. So when if I want to give a small little demonstration on linear algebra, the thing is,
Uh-huh.
for most of the cases when we're talking about machine learning aspects, we need to work on matrices. So
Mhm.
matrix functions like multiplication, dot
Mhm.
product, these kind of functions are all crucial elements for any kind of machine learning program whatsoever. You could talk about
Mhm.
any model like SVM, neural network, all of that. But in the end, in the notebook, you will see matrix. So first
Mhm.
of all, they should know what a matrix is. It's one of the most elemental parts in there. And with matrix, how to multiply two matrix, how to find
Okay.
determinant of a matrix, all these functions
Mhm.
should be known. That's in linear algebra. Another
Okay.
case is partial differential equations. So when
Mhm.
we're talking about deep learning, we will usually talk
Mhm.
about neural networks. And when we're talking about neural networks, there'll be some mathematical equations in there, which involves things like back propagation and so on. And when we're
Okay.
talking in these things, the very key element in there is gradients. So when we are
Mhm.
talking all these terms, we don't want the
Mhm.
students to get confused, like, okay, what is gradient? What is um, back propagation? But
Okay.
in that gradient, the element, the primary part is partial differential equations. So you have to know how to
Okay.
differentiate an equation. You have to know how to differentiate certain elements from this particular equation. And for that, partial differential equations are key for understanding these elements.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
Okay. Understood.
Similarly, for computer vision, so now I've covered
Mhm.
machine learning, deep learning, and for computer
Mhm.
vision, Once again,
Uh-huh.
matrix is key, because the way that we see images will be in the form of
Mm-hmm.
matrix. You have to understand
Mm-hmm.
that kind of matrix, and any other operation performed on those images will be in the form of matrix subsets. So once
Okay.
again, linear algebra will come into importance.
Mm-hmm. Understood. Understood. Okay. So now, what are the main key topics in the computer vision? What exactly is the computer vision? And then, uh, how exactly it is related to the machine and deep learning, basically.
Okay. So in key topics and key applications, right now, what are the current upcoming ones is that face detection. So let's say that we are having security cameras in certain locations. Someone
Mm-hmm.
is walking in there. Some of
Mm-hmm.
the high-end projects are like you want to find what is that person's face and detect
Okay.
that person who's walking from here to there. So
Okay.
detection is with the computer vision elements. There's some algorithms, there's some functions that you could learn to find out where an object is in that image. But then
Mm-hmm.
that object will have to go to a machine learning algorithm to find out what is that object. So that is
Oh,
where computer
okay.
vision and machine learning comes together. Computer vision will take care of the image processing side, like
Mm-hmm.
here's the person's head, person's
Mm-hmm.
body is here. That's how much the computer vision can take care of. But then
Okay.
this person is Mr. XYZ, this person is Mr.
Mm-hmm.
ABC, this person is
Mm-hmm.
Mrs. A, B, C, something like that. That is where
Mm-hmm.
machine learning algorithms and deep learning algorithms will work and find out. So that is, and in that case, some projects will be like what I told you, this person recognition.
Uh-huh.
Some can even include biometric recognition, like even by a person's walking, you could determine what kind of person they are. There's all kinds of interesting elements in there. And
Okay.
another case would be hand tracking. So one of the
Mm-hmm.
projects which I personally worked on in my years of experience is hand tracking, where you could move
Okay.
your hands in a 3D space and it should work in your games. So let's say you're playing
Mm-hmm.
some Oculus game. So Oculus is a VR headset, if those who are not
Okay.
aware. You wear it
Uh-huh.
and then you get to play games in VR. You don't even have to
Mm-hmm.
wear gloves or any remote control. Your hand
Mm-hmm.
itself will be tracked in that game and you get to have fun in it. And
Oh,
even though
okay.
it looks so much fun, it looks so simple, but just to track
Uh-huh.
your hands in that 3D space is a very, very hard task. And that is something which
Mm-hmm.
requires machine learning and computer vision to do.
Okay, okay, okay. Understood,
Yeah.
understood.
So these are
Okay,
some
so
ideas out there.
some ideas about that. Okay, and now going towards the advanced subjects and the topics in this domain. So what else are there? Like apart from the linear algebra and apart from the computer vision, deep learning, and these things basically.
Okay, so in terms of more advanced domains, as I told you, I've also worked on NLP based projects for the past 3 to 4 years. And in there, I could tell
Mm-hmm.
you there's a very advanced set of domains like transformers. So that is in the
Oh,
case of NLP, natural language processing.
okay,
You try
okay.
to talk to the model. Let's say we're having some
Mm-hmm.
system. I talk to the system, hello, I have this problem. What can I do to solve this problem? You just talk to it. And
Mm-hmm.
that system will hear
Okay.
you. It will recognize what you're talking and it will give you an answer and it'll say that, okay, here's the answer for so on. I think many people will
Mm-hmm.
be aware of the project ChatGPT, which is really popular right now. Lots of students are
Correct,
using it. They just type whatever they want and then the ChatGPT is giving them answers and solutions, right? How is that
correct, correct.
working? That is a very advanced topic known as
NLP
GPT, which is a kind of a transformer. Okay,
transform.
so the word transformer might seem simple, but there's a very high-end set associated with it. Basically, what
Okay.
you're talking, your text is
Mm-hmm.
converted into numbers, numbers
Okay.
converted into output text. And that's a very advanced topic. So this all comes
Okay.
under something called generative AI. So
Okay.
ChatGPT is generative AI, which is a very, very popular topic right now. And that is where
Mm-hmm.
most of these projects are coming from, like ChatGPT, Perplexity AI, and even
Mm-hmm.
Microsoft Copilot is happening right now. So
Mm-hmm.
these are all generative AI, which is a highly advanced topic, which is currently in the
Mm-hmm.
market and building up a lot of speed as well.
Okay, okay, understood, understood. So now, in terms of the application and what they are used for, that we have understood. Now, in terms of the NLP, so what are the key topics student has to study when they are like going through this course, and what should they focus on while
So
studying the NLP?
Yeah, very good question. So in terms of NLP, the key thing students should study about is text processing. So I told you
Mm-hmm.
for computer vision is image processing, right? So for
Mm-hmm.
NLP, the key element is text processing. The students
Okay.
should know how to convert this set of text into the set of numbers. They should know how to understand the data behind this text. There'll be several words that you would probably end up knowing, which is semantics, embeddings, attention. There's even something called attention. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
because if I
Okay.
translate even into something, let's say we're translating English to French, the words will
Uh-huh.
not be in the same order in any language, most
Okay.
of the languages. If I say hello, how are you? In French
Mm-hmm.
would be probably like comment ça va, which would be, if I
Mm-hmm.
would take word to word, is how you are.
Uh-huh.
You can see that the words are different. So the way that is
Correct.
understanding, there's something called attention. So those are all
Mm.
topics that students can be aware of. As for
Okay.
the primary set, it is text manipulation. I give you
Okay.
some string, you have to work with that
Mm-hmm.
string, you have to remove some elements, add some elements, convert it. So this is
Mm-hmm.
the most primary function when I'm giving you text in NLP.
Okay. 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 Understood. Understood. So now going ahead. Yeah. So technically, then overall, if we have to summarize, so what are the technical topics student has to focus on? If you can summarize that, then it will be very helpful.
Sure then. As far as for the technical topics, let's start with computer vision. There are
Uh-huh.
some topics that we could talk about, which was first we were talking about image manipulation, that was image
Mm-hmm.
pre-processing. And then
Mm-hmm.
from image pre-processing, we went ahead for computer vision based techniques like, let's say, super resolution. And then
Mm-hmm.
there was also segmentation. So there's image
Mm-hmm.
segmentation, which you can do with images, like finding the outlines of the image.
Uh-huh.
That's called contour detection. And once you
Okay.
find contour detection, you could also take into account things like Huff transforms. Huff transforms is from images, I find circles. These are
Mm-hmm.
all different process, and these are all different techniques which are used in computer vision to find
Okay.
certain images. So when I told
Okay.
image detection, it consists of
Uh-huh.
all of this, like contour
Mm-hmm.
detection, Huff transform, image
Mm-hmm.
segmentation, super
Mm-hmm.
resolution, and
Mm-hmm.
these methods all help enable the computer vision based algorithms to move on to, let's
Mm-hmm.
say, the machine learning algorithms. Now, in the
Okay.
machine learning algorithms, we started
Mm-hmm.
with the data pre-processing. That's why I told you with the matrix and the numbers. But then the next step beyond that for machine learning algorithms is learning.
Uh-huh.
So we then have supervised learning. We have unsupervised learning. And with that
Okay.
supervised learning, we will then take all of this data that you saw from, let's say, CV, NLP, whatever. They will then
Uh-huh.
teach it. They will train the model. Training the model
Okay.
informs different kind of input samples with output samples. And that training,
Mm-hmm.
we could think of all kinds of different training mechanisms. Like, let's say for neural
Mm-hmm.
network, we're talking about back propagation. I would have told that word. For
Mm-hmm.
SVMs, there'll be another set of methods that we could use. Support vector machine. That is what SVMs are. That will then
Okay.
utilize some methods to find out how to train the model and let's say some classifiers. So if I give that this is a
Mm-hmm.
picture of an orange, this is a picture of an
Mm-hmm.
apple, find the difference.
Okay.
It will then
Okay.
learn accordingly, saying that this is an orange. Here's the back propagation
Uh-huh.
for that. And then from back propagation, that's where I would have also told you about gradients, partial differential equations.
Mm-hmm.
That's where all of this comes in. So these are more
Okay.
topics that is built on top of computer vision.
Mm-hmm.
Now, coming to NLP. So when we're talking
NLP.
about,
Yes.
yeah, natural language processing. So when we're
Mm-hmm.
coming to that, I was telling about text manipulation, but on top of
Mm-hmm.
text manipulation, we also have
Mm-hmm.
semantic analysis. And in that
Mm-hmm.
semantic analysis, we also have some things like text pre-processing. Text
Mm-hmm.
pre-processing is I do stop word detection, I do special
Mm-hmm.
character removal. All of this students will then understand as they go through the syllabus. So the first syllabus will be involving text pre-processing, stop word
Mm-hmm.
removal, special character analysis, and then
Mm-hmm.
lowercase, uppercase. Those are all simple cases. Next will be
Okay.
semantic, noun,
Okay.
verb, adjective. All of this will be analyzed when I give you the string. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Peter is walking on the street. So Peter is
Okay.
subject, walking is
Okay.
verb, street is
Okay.
the object. So this
Mm-hmm.
understanding will be then in the text analysis.
Mm-hmm.
With all of that, this semantics will then be used to understand the attention. So if I say
Mm-hmm.
Peter is walking on the street, he took a
Okay.
left turn. Who is he? He is
Uh-huh.
Peter. So this
Okay.
understanding is called attention. That will then be
Okay.
understood by students with the other syllabus. Um,
Uh-huh.
then this all of this put together will then be used for understanding with the basis of transformers. So transformers will
Oh,
understand
okay.
all of this. And then if I ask you a question, then you would get answers from ChatGPT, right? You would
Mm-hmm.
actually start to understand how did ChatGPT come up with this answer. So
Okay.
these are
Okay.
more in-depth topics in these three
Mm-hmm.
fields.
Oh, okay, okay. Understood, understood. Okay. Thank you for the details, Newton. So now going ahead, like as you know, students mostly they have to deal with their projects, and the projects maybe it is for their academics or maybe it is for their resume buildings basically. So
Hmm.
what are the kind of projects you suggest the student for the masters and the PhD, or maybe let's say bachelor's, undergraduation, final year? What kind of projects they should build? uh, if you can give some a few titles of these projects, then it will be very helpful.
Sure. So let's start from the beginning then for bachelor's. So bachelor's
uh,
level projects are projects which probably within, let's say, 2, 3 months, you will have to build and find a solution. So for that, some of the projects which I can think of is face detection. But in
okay.
face detection, face detection, something which was already done for several years now. So something
Mhm.
more creative in face detection. So if I
Okay.
have someone who is inside a classroom, maybe they will do face detection on everyone in the classroom and they'll take attendance automatically. So if you just walk
Mhm.
inside the classroom, you are marked as
Mhm.
present. If you're not coming
Okay.
inside the classroom, you're marked as absent.
Okay.
So that would be something. So face detection based attendance. There is
Mhm.
also cases like, drivers will be driving a car and if they feel sleepy, the car should
Mhm.
automatically stop.
Oh.
How does that work?
Okay.
When they are sleeping,
Mhm.
that's sleep detection. So
Oh,
sleep
okay.
detection is they find their eyes with tracking,
Uh-huh.
and if their eyes are closing, then it's considered like,
Mhm.
okay, they're sleeping or else they're not looking properly. So then that
Mhm.
system should automatically tell the car, okay, stop, this
Mhm.
person's not watching the road properly.
Okay. Okay.
It might
Understood.
seem complex, but I'm telling you, these are actually things which can be done in a
Mhm.
bachelor level itself. And those projects are
Correct.
very good projects and it
Mhm.
can boost the person's, profile.
Mhm.
I
Okay.
myself have also done a project where I have tracking autism-based patients. So that was my
Oh,
bachelor project, in fact. So
okay.
I will have video of people diagnosed with autism. Uh,
Mhm.
Autism comes under two types. One is mind level, another one is body level. You will
Uh-huh.
have all of your body functions proper, but you will not walk
Mhm.
properly. That is the
Okay.
actual key on autism based walks.
Mhm.
And they might tiptoe or else they might move awkward, their hands will be flapping. All of this
Mhm.
you could use object tracking and not hand tracking, object tracking and body tracking to find out how this person is walking. And based
Mhm.
on this data, you could give a model and give this input to the model saying this person is on, let's say, 70% autism, this person is 60%
Oh,
autism. This is
okay.
another very good project idea. And this project idea
Okay.
can actually take you very far. This project
Mhm.
actually gave me a lot of recommendation for my master's and my PhD, in fact. So that's a very good hint for everyone.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Um,
Good, good.
yeah, so those were bachelor level projects.
Projects, yeah.
Now coming for master's level project. So master's level project would be like you understand this bachelor level project and take it a step further. So let's say
Mhm.
for master's level project, there were if I want to talk about computer vision based.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So there were projects with the instruments. So someone wants to play music, and if you know that there's some high-end musicians out there who uses this kind of a board, and if you just press with your fingers on this glass board, you play the
Uh-huh.
piano. That is a very
Okay.
interesting project, and
Okay.
that finger, it will not just simply track how much you're pressing, it'll check how much force you're giving, and that will also
Oh.
give you a lot of different musical instruments. Like if I press it harder, my violin will get louder. If I press it
Oh.
softly, it'll get quieter. Very interesting kind of projects that you could do just with a glass panel and a camera. But
Oh,
there's a lot
okay.
of process behind it. There's a lot of technology behind it, and those are
Mhm.
that's a master level project which I was
Okay.
aware of.
Okay.
Some other ideas would be in if I want to talk about in deep learning
Mhm.
field,
Mhm.
we could talk about hand tracking. So as I
Okay.
said, I was doing my master's project itself was on multi-object detection and tracking, which was a
Uh-huh.
subset of hand tracking because my hand tracking was in the PhD project. But
Mm-hmm.
if I want to say a starter master's level project, hand tracking to apply for some game, let's say. I want to play some
Okay.
game in Oculus or some game in
Okay.
HTC, Steam games, whatever. I want to
Mm-hmm.
track my hand and I want to play my game with it. So
Okay.
students can create a game with Unity, which is a
Uh-huh.
game engine, or you could
Mm-hmm.
any kind of game engine. Unity, Unreal, CryEngine, these are all game engines I'm aware of.
Mm-hmm.
And they could build a game, and in that game they
Mm-hmm.
could implement hand tracking. That is a very good
Okay.
master's level course. So a
Mm-hmm.
master's
Okay.
project can be I built my own game. In my game,
Mm-hmm.
I did hand tracking, and
Mm-hmm.
these are all the results I got. So that is a very
Okay.
impressive project as well.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay,
So
understood.
those are the kind of master level expectations that a
Mm-hmm.
person would have. Now let's move on to postgrad now. So
Mm-hmm.
PhD. So when we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about PhD level projects, we're talking
Mm-hmm.
about cutting edge research. So
Ah,
let's take
yes.
this game, for example. Now in this
Mm-hmm.
game, I am doing my hand tracking. My hand tracking is 90% accurate. I want to get better. My 90% will turn to 95%, 96%. So I will
Mm-hmm.
make better and better models, compare it with
Mm-hmm.
all the other models, and make my model the best. So
Okay.
in that sense, even for me, I made 3D hand tracking models, which were better than the current benchmarking time at the point when I was making this
Okay.
project. So that would be one. Other kinds of things would be
Mm-hmm.
interdisciplinary. So let's not
Mm-hmm.
just keep our mind on computer vision and machine learning. Let's add
Mm-hmm.
other fields to it, and that is where PhD starts to kick off. I will add
Okay.
mine to biomedical. I will add my thoughts to biotechnology. Uh,
Okay.
People would be understanding something called protein-protein interaction, which is a deep learning,
Mm-hmm.
highly advanced deep learning subject, which is
Okay.
mixed with biotechnology. So
Oh,
if I
okay.
do an injection, let's say I'm injecting some medicine to a patient, how that
Mm-hmm.
patient is reacting to my medicine, that is actually with biotechnology and deep learning.
Oh,
Highly
okay.
advanced. This is all PhD grade stuff, which they will understand that, okay, with this
Mm-hmm.
interaction, this is happening. With this interaction, this is happening. And they do a classification on top of that to understand protein-protein drug interaction.
Mm-hmm.
So
Understood. Understood.
these interdisciplinary topics are all high end and all very well made, and it can be therefore PhD grade. So these are all the different ideas that's off the top of my head for these three levels.
Okay, okay, okay. Understood, understood. So, thank you for the details regarding the project. Now, if you have to go ahead, you have a very much vast experience in the industry now, more than
Hmm.
3 years. And like, how is that? Like, if somebody want to appear for the job interviews, or what exactly the industry looks into the candidate who has completed his master's or PhD, or let's say undergrad. So what exactly is that procedure for the machine learning, deep learning, and this computer vision domain basically?
Okay, so very good question. I would need to explain a few things on this. So there are two main ways that you could go about once you're doing these studies. One is you could go towards academic. I could
Uh-huh.
become a professor, I will start teaching, and I will
Okay.
start making more and more research-oriented work. The other one is industrial. So industrial is
Okay.
I start building applications for whatever I learned, and I start making projects and things with all the stuff that I've learned so far.
Okay.
So
Okay.
as I worked in academia for a while and in research, let me tell both of them. For
Mm-hmm.
in industry purpose,
Mm-hmm.
if I now for the question that you said, if a person wants to get into a job interview, what will they need to learn?
Correct.
You
Correct.
need to understand the fundamentals of whatever I've taught you, everything so far. So when we are talking about this text, image, coding, everything that I was covering in the fundamentals is something that in industry they will ask you as a question. I myself have
Uh-huh.
taken interviews and I've asked these kind of questions. So
Mm-hmm.
a very common interview question would be, can when we the person would obviously explain about themselves, but then when it gets to machine learning, I would ask, what
Mm-hmm.
are all the data structures you know? And what are all
Mm-hmm.
the ways you would use each data structure? This is the interview
Mm-hmm.
question. And they
Mm-hmm.
will say that I've used this structure, I've used that data structure. Okay, in this
Okay.
program, let's say for an example, I told you about this student attendance. So for student attendance,
Mm-hmm.
what data structure will you use and how will you implement
Oh,
it?
okay.
These
Okay. Okay.
so the students must be able to immediately think of something and immediately give a solution from their head with
Mm-hmm.
at least good results. So then they say,
Okay.
here's my first idea. They should be very creative. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay.
So here's my
Understood.
idea. Here's the data structure that I'm using. Here's the way I could probably plan it. I'm not telling you to
Uh-huh.
code immediately in front of me,
Mm-hmm.
but an overall idea. That's what I'm asking. And
Okay.
probably the next thing is coding knowledge. So, like I
Uh-huh.
said, Python, any kind of
Mm-hmm.
main coding program should be well known to them, especially in
Mm-hmm.
industry. See, in industry, they will not spend and utilize most of their time just to teach you programming. Probably
Correct.
they'll do that in some IT companies. Like if you finish your bachelor and go for IT company, you will have some
Mm-hmm.
time to learn and then get into that. But I'm
Correct.
telling in core industry, after I finish PhD and entering these kind of like telecommunications industry, data science, higher level companies, which
Mm-hmm.
go through a lot of cases, they will
Mm-hmm.
not spend their time teaching you programming. That's a very big
Okay.
waste of their resources. So you should be
Mm-hmm.
well versed
Okay.
in your
Okay.
programming. You should then start learning their telecommunication. See, in my case, I have not done telecommunication, but I've got a very strong core in data science, deep learning, and all of
Okay.
these aspects. So the company
Okay.
was happy. Okay, now you would learn telecommunication, which is even more advanced, and that is an industry
Mm-hmm.
perspective. You will not need to
Okay.
learn that in your PhD or master's, let's say.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that is how much
Understood.
they will teach you in companies. And
Mm-hmm.
everything I'm telling you is all industrial. So industrial,
Okay.
I am making projects for telecom. So my deep
Mm-hmm.
learning and my data science project should match their requirements. So that is
Okay.
how it works in there. So
Okay.
that fundamental knowledge should be well known by the students when they're going for these companies.
Okay.
So
Understood.
some things which I would really recommend is finish some
Mm-hmm.
courses based on programming. There are many
Mm-hmm.
courses out there like Coursera courses. There's Coursera
Mm-hmm.
certificate courses for Python and all, right? I highly
Correct.
recommend finishing those kind of Coursera, Udemy courses and show proof. Look, I'm a very good programmer. I got these
Mm-hmm.
certificates. The company will not question you at all in that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So those
Understood.
kind of
Understood.
certifications is something which is vital when you're going for high level company interviews. So they will be very, so yeah, the first thing I would also ask is what kind of certificates you would have. So then
Mm-hmm.
they will show their resume, they will show all their certificates in it. Then I will ask the
Mm-hmm.
question like, wow, he knows this much, she knows this much.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go
Mm-hmm.
ahead and let's ask some more questions. So that is a very
Okay.
good hint for that.
Understood. Understood.
So
Understood.
coming to academia, academia
Uh-huh.
is you need to know better research knowledge. So
Uh-huh.
that is where you would learn more and more, like let's say cutting edge research. And then if I say
Mm-hmm.
that, okay, in this model, I told you, right, for 3D hand tracking, I made better models and beat the benchmark. So probably in
Mm-hmm.
academia, they'll be like, okay, if you have used this model, what would have happened? If you use this model
Okay.
more in line with the theory perspectives.
Okay. Okay. Understood.
And then
Understood.
maybe if you're a professor, if you're trying to apply for a professor post, how well can you teach that to someone as well? So then your teaching knowledge,
Uh-huh.
those are all the other kind of differences from academia to industrial.
Industry. Okay, okay, understood. And now, like one more question I wanted to have is like, as you are in the industry now, so what are the domains inside, like subdomains inside this machine learning, deep learning, and data science in the industry in terms of the jobs available? Like, what are the are there any subdomains available?
Yes, yes. So very good question. At least in terms of the telecommunications company that I'm working in, I could tell you some of the subdomains,
Mm-hmm.
but mostly it will be applicable for other companies as well. So when we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about data science, we are talking
Mm-hmm.
about data analysis. So then
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about different job profiles. There's
Mm-hmm.
data analyst. Data analyst or business analyst, they're the kind of job profiles where they'll probably have some data, some let's say marketing data, or this is my
Mm-hmm.
sales data. They
Mm-hmm.
would give that to the analyst, and the analyst would
Okay.
probably create reports saying that, okay, your market profile was in this much profit, this much
Mm-hmm.
goal. All of this, what I'm telling
Mm-hmm.
you, is using linear algebra and using standard mathematical
Mm-hmm.
models. I would
Mm-hmm.
build this report and show you that, okay, here's the market, here's the goal, here's the predicted outcome, and then
Mm.
probably build some models, lower level models for that. That is the goal
Yes,
of the
yes.
analyst. Now,
Okay.
the next one, the data scientist. Now
Mm-hmm.
that I have this particular set of data, what can I
Uh,
do to improve my particular performance such that my data is now, my profit is better? Let's say I'm
mm-hmm.
having some product, my product is giving this much sales. Can you improve my
Mm-hmm.
product? What are all the research things that you could utilize to improve the product, make it better, and to deploy the product?
Okay.
Next, the data scientist will probably look into all of these
Mm-hmm.
solutions, make it better, or make a new solution altogether using their
Okay.
experience, and then deploy that product. The data
Okay.
scientist should be able to do the analysis by themselves. They will
Mm-hmm.
also make this a solution. They should also help in deployment. So, like a data scientist will cover all of these fields. So the data
Mm-hmm.
scientist will cover the field of an analyst, a software
Mm-hmm.
developer. A regular software developer will be like, you give this project, I want to make this, program this. That's all they will ask a
Mm-hmm.
software developer. And
Okay.
they will then
Okay.
go for deployment. For deployment, they would probably go for more software development as well as data engineers. So
Okay.
another
Okay.
subset is called data engineer. Data
Mm-hmm.
engineers, they're the ones who help actually like deploying models. So if I'm talking about all this theory of creating model, SVM, neural network, where does that
Correct.
neural network sit? Where will that
Mm-hmm.
model go in the neural network if I give you a program? So
Mm-hmm.
they'll be very much well versed in data engineering tools like Hadoop. That'll be a word you would know.
Oh.
Hadoop, Kubernetes, AWS,
Mm-hmm.
Amazon Web Services, AWS.
Mm-hmm.
So these kind of web services, Google
Mm-hmm.
Cloud Services, so GCP, Google Cloud
Mm-hmm.
Platform. Data
Mm-hmm.
engineers would know all of these mechanisms so that
Okay.
if the data scientist or else if the software engineer creates a model, the data
Mm-hmm.
engineer puts that model and makes it into use in a company perspective
Oh,
so
understood.
that my
Understood.
client will then use that model.
Okay. Okay.
So these
Okay.
are the
Got it.
subtasks I could think of when you're telling me for data science, what are the things? There's
Mm-hmm.
analysts, there's the software developer, and then there's
Mm-hmm.
the deployer,
Mm-hmm.
the data engineers.
Okay. Okay. Understood.
And
Uh,
in there, there are more
mhm.
advanced groups, like they'll then become they'll become data scientist, then senior data scientist. You will start to work with teammates and you will then coordinate with other team members. You'll become principal data scientist, in which you would be the one who is telling yes or no to major decisions based on that entire team's performance. And
Oh,
that's the
oh, oh.
goal for data scientists. This principal senior will also be for engineer as well as for analysis.
Yes, yes, definitely.
Hmm.
Okay, so thank you very much, Newton, for all this information. So
You're most
we are
welcome.
at the end of our discussion, and like at end, what is the one thing, one advice, if you have anything which you want to give to the students? Uh,
A very good advice I would like to give is do what is most interesting for you. So
mhm,
there's actually a saying, if you do something which is like your hobby, if your job is something so much passionate that it's like a hobby to you, it will not
mhm,
feel like a job at all.
mhm,
You'll not think like,
mhm,
oh, 9 to 5 work, I have to work and do it. If you do something which is
mhm,
highly passionate, like I love doing computer vision things, or else I love coding. And then if you get to a nine to
mhm,
five, you'll think like, oh, I already lost track of time. I finished my codes as well. So
mhm.
be interested in
Exactly.
whatever you're doing. And
Mhm,
then if you have that interest, you will have that motivation and you will have
mhm.
that passion towards whatever you're working on.
Exactly, exactly. That's so true. Thank you, Newton, for your time.
Thank you
And
very much, Suraj.
yeah, thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.
See you.